Okay, well, this is Background Jobs 101, a very gentle introduction. So if you don't know anything about background jobs, that's completely fine. And if you do, then you can support me by laughing at my jokes. That was one of them. Thank you, Yanni. So I'm Sylwia Vargas, and I was wondering what information would be relevant for this very fine audience. So I came up with a little game. I'm going to say a thing, and then if we have that in common, you're going to make a noise. So first, warm up. This is my first time at Kongres Next.js. Okay. Second, I love pierogi. I'm Polish. It's getting more obscure, huh? Oops, something happened. Hola. Okay, it's good. I recovered. Okay. I worked on React docs. We have someone there. Let's talk later. And now it's going to get, so this is the new React docs. And now it's going to get more and more obscure, but maybe we'll find each other. The next one, most recently, I worked at StackBlitz, which is an online IDE. And currently, I work as a developer relations lead at Inngest. Another fun fact, another fact about me, let's not oversell this, is that I love working on side projects. No? No one? Okay, tough crowd. Anyway, it's all joy, all fun and joy. Because you don't have to really worry about the business needs. You can just focus on the user experience. And because you're your own user, and sometimes very often your only user, you'll always be happy. Which, is a throwback to what Kitze was saying earlier. But this is not the case with the real-world production apps. In real product development, what the user sees is usually just the tip of the iceberg. Most software is so much more complicated than what we imagine because of the business requirements. So let's take a look at the real-life scenario. Let's imagine now. I would say close your eyes, but we already know we are a bit too relaxed. So you work at a hot new restaurant booking startup, and the app is in Next.js, and everyone who works at the startup is a hipster. So your boss asks you how long it will take you to build a sign-up flow. You sit back, you stretch a little bit, you get the list of the requirements from the product manager. So you look at it with your, ice latte in your hand, and you say, let's see. So you have to, build the security. You have to securely authenticate a user. You have to add the user to the database. You have to add the user to the mailing list and send a welcome email. Well, thankfully, building this is so much easier today than it would have been 5 years ago. So, you can use Clerk for auth. You can use Supabase for a database, MailChimp for a mailing list, and Resend for email. Okay, job done. You can now take a big sip of your iced latte and go back to playing Wordle, or maybe reading one of the 1,000 mega threads of Dan Abramov about RSC. And so here's the code. As I said, you would create a user in the database, you would send a welcome email, and you would add a member to a mailing list. So this looks very simple, and we like simple. Building applications using third-party services is smart and also makes our life easier, and we like easier. So what's the problem? Well, let me spoil it for you. The downside here is that we have created an application that is distributed, where we have no control over large portions of the infrastructure that we rely on. So, for example, sometimes services can be slow. Sending an email, even on a good day, can take half a second. So we do have a problem. we have blocking code in the critical path of the request. As a result, we are making our API slower. In other words, our user is wasting time. User experience shouldn't suffer because of the business requirements. So how are we doing so far? Is it fast? No. But is it reliable? Also no. So imagine that as you're adding a user to a mailing list, a service goes down. Now you need to manage retries. So you're retrying 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And what if it actually fails permanently? Now you need to log these errors to a logging service. And you also need to figure out a recovery system. So the estimation now to build this simple feature is weeks and not days. You need to set up all the infra, all the processes. Also, by the way, partial failures are really bad. So you've added a user to the database, but haven't sent them an email. So now we really have 3 scenarios. First, we can ignore the error, and so this means that the user is not on the mailing list. Second, maybe even worse, we can show the user the error, which most probably will freak them out and they will go away. Or 3, this is most probably worst case of all, the user will retry signing up. So let's assume that the user gets the error and tries to sign up again. So now the DB user create will error out because we have a duplicate. Well, good luck recovering from that. So this is the mess we are in. The app takes forever to work. It takes me forever to build. I will be slower at my work because now I have to manage all the support backlog. But we are still not dealing with the persistent failures. So, in other words, everyone is unhappy, my boss is unhappy, I am unhappy, and also I am losing sleep because I am stressed. But there's a solution. We can make our code faster and more reliable. Let's move the non-blocking tasks to background jobs. So let's do it. First, let's add Inngest to the project. Inngest is the reliability layer for your app. With Inngest, you define functions and workflows using its SDK right in your own code base and serve them through an HTTP endpoint in your application. So then Inngest takes care of reliably executing functions asynchronously. And there's also a dashboard where you can monitor, debug, and manage your jobs. So this is how our app looks like right now. And we're going to add a reliability layer, which is Inngest. So first, we're going to wrap this function in ingest.createFunction. As you see, we are providing the event name user.signup. So later, when the user signs up, we will trigger this event, and then Inngest will know to execute this specific function at the correct time. So this is how it looks in the code. We are creating the function, we are providing the event name, and then we are invoking our existing MailChimp code from before. So now we're going to do the same for the other function. And you see that the name of the event is the same for the 2 functions. So this is because we want those 2 functions to fire at the same time, meaning when the user signs up. This pattern, by the way, fun fact, is usually called fanout. So now a user clicks the button, and we will send the event to Inngest. This is how it looks in the code. So instead of invoking these functions directly, we will trigger an event in Inngest. So like I mentioned before, we expose our functions to Inngest as an HTTP endpoint. Inngest uses this endpoint to execute the specific functions when an event was triggered, right? And this is the endpoint. Inngest will use it to download the function definitions and then to execute them. So here, this is the complete flow. Inngest calls the correct function at the precise time you want. And then on the dashboard, you will get the notification that there was an event triggered, which in turn called two functions. You will also see that they completed and when. So now let's talk about worst case scenarios. So what happens when there is a failure? Let's look at that. So Inngest invokes a function and it fails with an error code. In this way, in this moment, Inngest will retry it and retry it with an incremental backoff until it finally succeeds. You don't need to worry about that. Moreover, you will also get a detailed log on what actually happened. I know it's, now let me be real with you. I know it's difficult to believe, but sometimes the errors are persistent not because of the service shortages, but because there are bugs in our code. So in this case, you can actually easily debug it using Inngest console. And I will maybe, if we have time, I will show you later. And once you fix your function, you can recover by retriggering these events. So we wanted to make our app faster. We moved the non-blocking tasks from the user's critical path to the background jobs. But also we got reliability as a nice addition. So now let's actually have a look at this infrastructure. Let's see what else we can do with this infra in place. So this is our app right now. I didn't tell you yet, but Inngest actually allows you also to schedule tasks in the future, but also to orchestrate multi-step processes. So let's zoom in on this one function, send event. Here we are just sending a welcome email. But you know, if you've ever talked to a marketing person or a product manager, you know that it's always nice to increase user retention. So we could send them an activation email drip campaign in the first week. So how do we do that? So let's create an Inngest function which will react to, again, the same event. So far, we have been talking about the fan out pattern, which is when you have multiple functions reacting to the same event. But many tasks actually require a sequential progression. So here we are building a drip campaign. So it's convenient that we can express the whole timeline as a procedural code. We will use Inngest steps in this function. So here we are using ingest.run. In this way, the code will get automatically retried if it fails. But if it runs successfully, then it will never be retried again. We'll see it in action in a bit. So first, we are sending a welcome email. This is the same part that we did before. Then Inngest will pause the execution of this function for 4 days. For this, we are using step.sleep. From a programming perspective, it looks similar to just putting set timeout, but actually, in the background, Inngest handles the scheduling for you. So that means that your serverless function does not run for 4 days. So you don't have to sell your kidney to pay your AWS bill. That was a joke. Thanks. And the last step is the final email with tips. If there is a failure on one of the steps, Inngest will know that the other steps worked out and will only retry that one failing step until it works. So, great. Now we have built a successful drip campaign. But we can do better. So imagine that someone has already signed up and immediately got so excited that they made a booking. It wouldn't make sense to send them, an email with some basic tips. The same as we would send to someone who just signed up and forgot about it. So maybe we need different types of tips and different CTAs for different behaviors. So the campaign actually could be dynamic and based on user actions. So this is what we're going to do now. Let's delete the last 2 steps because we all like deleting code. So now elsewhere in our app, when a user completes a booking, there's an event sent that's called booking.created, just like user.signup that you have seen already numerous times. So now we can use this new event to determine the course of action. Here, we are going to wait for 4 days to see if the event actually happens. Next, we will now use this booking event to determine the course of action. If the booking was made, we will reward the person with power user tips. And well, if they need 4 days to make a booking, maybe they need some basic tips, some help. And this is honestly so much fun that why stop there, you know? You could go wild and build lots of emails with lots of tips. But speaking about tips, this is just the tip of an iceberg. We are talking here about sending emails, but Inngest is not just a tool for emails. Actually, it's not a tool for sending emails per se. It is a tool for orchestrating different jobs. There are numerous use cases that go beyond just marketing campaign with Inngest. You can build complex payment flows, LLM prompt chaining, or multi-step data transformation. So you can think about it that whenever you have a bunch of stuff, that whenever you need to have a bunch of stuff happen in response to a given event, you could just consider Inngest. For example, SoundCloud uses Inngest to streamline generating dynamic videos. Aomni used it to build AI-driven sales flows using LLMs. And Resend, the email sending platform, which actually we used in this example today, uses Inngest to verify email domains with serverless workflows. Just so that you actually know, like, what you are seeing. Inngest works in a cloud, and you can also actually migrate from one cloud to provider to another with 0 downtime. And here is a blog post if you're curious to learn about how that was actually implemented. But it is also framework agnostic. Here are just a few frameworks that there are like straightforward integrations with, but we just added Astro and Bun. And we are also language agnostic. So, you know, in this example, you saw a lot of TypeScript and type safety. But in addition to TypeScript, Inngest also has SDKs for Python and Go. And there are also a few already on the conveyor belt. Fun fact, you can actually mix and match different in your workflows, you can mix and match different functions, invoke them, even if they are written in different languages. And also, by the way, if you're looking for open source journey, our SDK spec is open, so you know you can build your own. And also there's a local dev server, which doesn't require you to log in, so you don't need an account, you don't need to pay anything, you can just play with it on your own machine. And because we do have some time, let me just show you this. I wanted to do live demo, but I worried about technical difficulties, so I recorded a video. So here, what we're gonna see, let me just go back here. Okay, so what we're gonna see is a failing function within just how it's reflected on the dev server. So let me. Oh, it's already playing. Maybe I should also. I will just narrate it for you. So here we have an app, very simple app. We are clicking a button. Let me see. We are starting a Inngest dev server. This is the UI. It is running completely local. We are booking our dream table. And suspense. You see that the booking was created. You see the details of the event, all the functions that run and when, also what they returned. And next we are gonna book. We're gonna fail to book a table. And you will see that this was also reflected on the dashboard. So you again get all the information about the event. Here you have the information, you have an error log, but you also see at the bottom that there are already 2 attempts scheduled. So one already failed, and the second one is queued, and then it's gonna be retried incrementally until maximum number was reached. And here you see that actually this is the function that was breaking. Let me get back to. I don't see my cursor. Oh. Okay. Okay, I'm back. So I spoke a lot about Inngest here, but actually this talk is not only about Inngest. When building real-world applications, reliability is really important, because not only does that make your users happy, it also makes your team more productive. And you, a developer, are less bogged down by maintenance and operations. But achieving reliability is hard. Every engineer who ever had to build a reliable system at scale knows that there's a ton of iteration and infra work that goes into that. In this example, we used Inngest as a reliability layer. But whether or not you use a third-party solution, sooner or later you will end up needing one. And reliability is like security. It's really hard to add afterwards. So baking it into your architectural choices from the get-go is usually a good idea. Especially in times like this, when the engineering budgets and headcounts are being cut, we as individual engineers, we need to do more with less. And just as you're probably outsourcing your mailing list or your email sending to cloud vendors, it's worth asking yourself, do you really want to be in business of managing and operating your own queues? And the CTO of SoundCloud says that in 2024, maybe not. So to go back to the beginning of my talk, I really like to work on side projects because I can focus on user needs instead of daunting things like reliability. In 2024, you all deserve all fun and joy in your day jobs too. And yeah, thank you all for having me here. Let's be friends, follow me, I don't know, reach out. See you. Thank you.